Another thing I really like about ICP is the chastity issue, because they don't treat chastity as really anything more than a hygiene issue. I don't know. It just seems like you're accepted. As a woman, that is so rare to be accepted by men, you know, if you like to fool around. When I was young, I was somewhat promiscuous, and I liked to be promiscuous, and the guys I was being promiscuous with also liked to be promiscuous. We were just having a fun time together. And then I found out, one of my, the guys I was with, my soon-to-be quite long-term boyfriend, we, almost like a lifetime friend, he told me that, you know, you wouldn't believe what they're saying about you. You got to stop doing that because they're talking bad about you. And I was like, what? My friends, the guys who I'm having fun being promiscuous with, are talking bad about me, as if being promiscuous is a bad thing, like a bad thing for me to do, but not them. And I was like, this double standard, seriously. And that's kind of when I started realizing that men, specifically in society, and women, I think all of society, there's a general feeling that sex is bad. We don't like to talk about it. We don't like to name our parts. We don't even like to remember that we have male and female parts a lot of times. It's really uncomfortable for us to discuss and talk about a normal function of our bodies, and it's just like this really off-limits thing. And I get it. I've addressed this many, many times before as like power of creation and stuff, right? And all this. Okay. So yes, it's special, but at the same time, I feel like we have an underlying feeling of sex is bad. And I think that comes out in things like, just like a young girl and a young guy just fooling around and having a fun time, and then they're talking about it as if it's bad. You know what I mean? It's like, it's bad for me to do. It's bad to do. Because maybe there's so much self-loathing, you know. I feel like the degree with which a man thinks a woman is like damaged because she's not pure or clean, unbroken, right? She's like been damaged because she's been unchaste. The degree with which a man thinks that, I believe, is the degree with which he loathes himself for his own sexuality. I think there might be a correlation. If it's not exact, it's correlated. You know it is. It has to be. I mean, what else is that? That's a very strange thing. And it puts the blame on someone else, too. It's linked. It's one thing that's really refreshing about ICP and, oh my gosh, Maynard James Keenan. Yes, it should be accepted. And maybe that comes back on women, because we also think that. And like when men, you know, have lustful eyes, and I guess that does come from the Bible, because if you look on a woman, you've committed adultery in your heart already. So, I mean, yes, let's like be respectful of our sisters. It's like, just let's be normal. But then also, if we have sexuality, let's express it as well and not be hidden about it. And hypocrites, maybe let's not be hypocrites about it. Maybe it's the hypocrisy that causes a bit of trouble. And are there like practical methods you should use to restrain or control your sexuality? Maybe, perhaps. I mean, we talk about consent, you know, people aren't running around just going crazy. I mean, some people are, but I would say it's a fringe group, and I would say it's the exception, not the rule. I think the rule is there's a bit of self-control, and I think the very fringe group doesn't. But I mean, I think when we're talking about what an average human could expect out of their life, I think we should look at what's more average rather than what's fringe anyway. So I think we can expect some level of self-control out of our girls and our boys, but I think we should also I think it would be healthier to pose it as a hygiene issue rather than a broken issue. Like if you've done an action in your life, you are now forever broken. You have literally broken your body. I think that again, I think I did a video called A Case for Monogamy, has a pumpkin on it. I think that's the one where I talk about that as a hygiene issue. And there's more too. I have other videos with this is a hygiene issue. It comes up a bit. But where, anciently, maybe it had such a strong emphasis on being unbroken as a woman because you're the vessel of life. You're the vessel with which springs forth life. And that is your main, goal and objective in life for both you and your husband. You want to procreate, have offspring. Everyone's like, oh, that's your only goal in life. Yes, that has been the case for many, many years. Humans, it's a biological thing. That's what every animal thinks. It's a very animal basic function. That's why that's why probably a good majority, 90% of our music is all about relationships and dating and sadness because of dating and relationships, and happiness because of relationships, boys and girls relationships, right? Sex, basically, because our biological urges, birth and death. We're born, we reproduce, we die. It's a birth and death cycle. It's part of our body. It's part of our biology. It's something we obsess about. It's something our bodies, obsess with. And so if our bodies are obsessed with it anyway, it makes sense that we would be too. That is a really big deal for humans. But I think maybe let's not make it a big deal like you are maybe mentally or spiritually broken, right? Just if your body has a potential to have a disease now, it's like, are you spiritually broken if you contract the measles? No. Contracting the measles could be a lot of things, but I think spiritually broken would be no. But what if you didn't have drugs to fix it? Well, I think the measles just goes away on its own, but there's other things that maybe you need drugs to fix, like maybe strep throat. If you contract strep throat, are you spiritually damaged or are you physically damaged? You have a high potential for physical damage, so you want to go in and get some pills. And if we didn't have antibiotics, you might want to stay away from people who also have a sore throat. And it's the same thing, I think, with sex. It's a hygiene issue. We want to stay away from people who have diseases because we can become diseased, and if we don't have drugs, we can, die from it. I don't know, have a horrible life from it, a horrible itchy life. So we just don't want to have that. So I think that's the primary thing, because the human's primary drive to have children, they get married and they're expecting children. And if you're already used up and you have a disease, because if you've been doing it a lot with a lot of different people, without protection and stuff, you probably have a disease. And then it's oh no, now our life plans have changed. I've discovered that you might actually give me a disease, and that's disgusting. So I'm not going to do that. So that's likely where it came from. I think we need to stop with the spiritual brokenness, because we don't get spiritually broken with any other hygiene situation. If we don't wash our hands, for example, it's just gross and something we try not to do, but it's the same. Okay. So you can stop thinking about sex as bad all the time. Young men, young women, yes, be wise. And a lot of times people want to be special about it because it is your primary drive. You want to be special about it. Okay, do that. It's a cool thing to do. If you can be special about it, save yourself for marriage, and you and your partner are both saved for marriage with each other, and that's something you wanted to do in life, you should do that in life. That seems like a really good plan. And if that's something you want a partner, look for a partner like that. Do that. That seems like a great plan. It seems like there's nothing wrong with that plan. There's nothing inherently wrong unless it becomes prideful, right? Or like, we're so much better than those. But there could be a case where that's not the case for others, you know? Maybe they had a different life. Maybe they had a different understanding. I feel like if they're still continuing in, you know, the lack of chastity, I don't know if lack of chastity might be a little bit like a hedonistic or like a body-centered act, so it could lead to lack of spirituality, but like, so as soon as you turn from that, you would be saved, right? Back in the fold, or like back on the path, brought back to the fold. I mean, I keep the law of chastity. I think it's a good thing to do. Even for spiritual reasons, for bonding and connection. Okay, it could be. I kind of feel like that, but maybe somebody doesn't. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just saying I'm not like broken though. I'm not like beyond repair because I was promiscuous in my youth. I guess that's what I'm saying, is that I feel like I'm just as able to be bonded with and connected with somebody as someone who hasn't had sex before, you know? I just think that's something people are noticing. So it's like, oh, maybe all those things we were told are not true. I don't know. I'm just trying to say there might be something to chastity, but there also might be something to the way we view it. And our view of it might have kind of some lasting effects, because it also, how we view it, you know, affects how we use it. And that could have major lasting effects. It does have major lasting effects. Every perception has major lasting effects on action. So it definitely is causing some stuff. And I think some of the stuff it's causing is not as desirable. I think one of the side effects that is caused by our current perception of and view of what sex is and how it affects someone, especially women, I think that is leading to the child bride situation. I think that is leading to men, adult men, dipping into the child situation. And I think that that needs to be left alone. I think that children play with children and adults play with adults, and we don't mix. I think that's extremely creepy and wrong to try to mix the two worlds, because children are not ready to make lifelong adult kind of decisions, especially around a topic like sex, because it is our thing about it's a procreative act, you know. Is the child ready to be a parent? I would say in our current society, no, because you're not even legally allowed to rent an apartment. Like, you're not legally allowed to do anything for yourself, really. I mean, you can kind of get a job, but there are laws protecting you as a child. We have that as a societal structure. That's just how it is. Like, we chose an age, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we all just need to do. I think that is just... Hey. I don't know. Maybe that's just something like we agree on legally, right? I mean, at some point the community just has to make a decision. But yes, I think that the idea that sex is bad leads to adult men like trying to obtain a child bride because they want somebody who's untainted from the world and not spotted and good and perfect, and someone who's going to be able to be bonded and connected, because we don't like those older jaded women, right? Oh my goodness, just the women who are noticing your nonsense. You want somebody young enough who doesn't know enough about the world yet to be like, actually, I have a thought in my head, I don't know, or I'm thinking things differently than you. I don't know, it's odd. It's an odd thing. And plus, if we think someone's like broken, we want to like, you know, catch them before they become tainted or whatever. It's just like, I don't know. I think that one of the undesirable side effects of the situation or the perception is that people want to marry someone extremely young.